There is breaking news. Moments ago, the Clinton depositions were released. Last week, former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton and former President Bill Clinton testified on Jeffrey Epstein. We are going through these depositions and report on them tomorrow, right here on Newsmax, because they were just released. In the meantime, it's day 3, and President Trump says the war against Iran has just begun.
Right from the beginning, we projected 4 to 5 weeks, but we have capability to go far longer than that.
This, as Iranian Muslim clerics just issued a kill order, a fatwa. Muslims, not just in the Middle East, but worldwide, are ordered to take revenge on America and Israel. Iran has already killed several in Israel as its campaign of revenge begins. That is a very familiar yet eerie and terrifying sound. Sirens warning Israelis to quickly head to shelter as Iranian missiles are headed their way. Meanwhile, as the missiles get fired at Israel, Israel has a new special weapon. It's called the Iron Beam. What is the Iron Beam? Well, it's cheaper than the Iron Dome, and it's faster. It's a high-energy laser air defense system. And Israel is not the only nation, by the way, feeling Iran's retaliation. It is witnessing Iran's retaliation with missiles, drones. They've been hitting Gulf states, American bases, oil refineries. Also in the chaos, a terrible mistake. American fighter jets were mistakenly shot down. By whom? One of our allies, Kuwait. Thankfully, the United States pilots safely ejected and are safe. And as the war against Iran intensifies, what is the end game? Secretary of War Pete Hegseth says the United States has a clear mission.
This is not Iraq. This is not endless. I was there for both. Our generation knows better, and so does this president. This operation is a clear, devastating, decisive mission. Destroy the missile threat, destroy the Navy, no nukes.
4 to 5 weeks. That is how long President Trump said he expects the war to last. And on Saturday, the United States and Israel did begin their joint mission. It is called Operation Epic Fury. CENTCOM says that so far the United States military has hit more than 1,200 targets in Iran. The biggest target? The man behind all the terrorism since 1989, Iran's Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. He has now been eliminated. And it isn't just Iran. Israel is also carrying out strikes in Lebanon. That is where Iran-funded terrorists Hezbollah are. And over the weekend, Hezbollah launched rockets at Israel, so Israel fired back. Saudi media reports Israel has killed Hezbollah's political leader. This war is not with the Iranian people, but with Iran's regime. It is impacting much of the Middle East. Iranian missiles and drones have been reported or fired at Bahrain, Kuwait, Iraq, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, Qatar, and Cyprus. Moments ago, Secretary of State Marco Rubio addressed the operation against Iran.
There absolutely was an imminent threat, and the imminent threat was that we knew that if Iran was attacked, and we believed they would be attacked, that they would immediately come after us. And we were not going to sit there and absorb a blow before we responded, because the Department of War assessed that if we did that, if we waited for them to hit us first after they were attacked, and by someone else, Israel attacked them, they hit us first, and we waited for them to hit us, we would suffer more casualties and more deaths.
Middle East correspondent Zach Anders joins me from Tel Aviv, where it is 11:03:27. Zach?
Greta, good to be with you. Day 3 of this war, the region burning from these Iranian retaliatory attacks, but the ballistic missile fire from Iran in the last 12 hours, not just here in Israel, but across the region, the Gulf and Arab states, a considerable drop in the number of attacks and in the number of missiles in those attacks. The IDF tells me today they have destroyed dozens of ballistic missile launchers at this point. Once those missile launchers that are disguised sometimes as freight or semi-trucks, once those go, the ballistic missile stockpile that remains is pretty pointless. They won't be able to fire them anyways. Excuse me. Now, their assessment places the number of remaining launchers above 100. Don't have an exact number, but they believe that it is around that 100 to 200 range. Israel estimates that more than 1,500 IRGC members have been killed since the war began. More than 40 top Iranian generals have been killed. The Ayatollah and the Ayatollah's interim replacement dead as a result of this conflict, at the cost, though, of American lives. The Pentagon announced last night that 4 U.S. service members are dead. The exact circumstances are still unknown as we await more information once the next of kin are notified. As you mentioned, 3 American F-15s were shot down today over Kuwait in a friendly fire targeting. The Air Force tells us Kuwaiti air defense systems misidentified those jets as enemy targets. All American pilots ejected safely. Those $100 million planes are a loss. And the pilots and the navigators, those F-15s, crew of 2 in the cockpit, warmly received by Kuwaitis on the ground. This is an incredible video of one of those female navigators, or pilots, I should say, we don't know for sure, being received, and they come up to her and they tell her, thank you for participating in this campaign and going after Iran, offer her tea. Now, unrelated, Qatar announces they have shot down 2 Iranian Air Force bombers. No word yet on the fate of those Iranian pilots. A remarkable situation with Qatar shooting down Iranian planes, those Soviet-era Su-24 bombers, fixed-wing aircraft. And finally tonight, Hezbollah in Lebanon entering the fight. The Islamic regime's proxy claims to have fired some 200 rockets into northern Israel in the last 24 hours. They vowed to avenge the Ayatollah's death. The IDF responding with dozens of airstrikes, including in Beirut, and that front has now escalated into hourly exchanges, although I will say that the IDF intelligence assessment that I received today is that they're not certain that Hezbollah has fully committed to this idea of a full renewed war conflict with Israel, that they may be doing this a bit for show, and that front may calm down. But at the scale of nearly 100,000 IDF reservists moving to that border there is certainly something to watch. Now, this campaign in Iran, it continues around the clock, 24-hour cycle of U.S. and Israeli planes dropping bombs on targets. We're told that could last for weeks. President Trump, though, even though this has already achieved history and already the big names have been taken off the board within minutes of the first bombs dropping on their heads specifically, but President Trump today declaring this afternoon that the biggest wave is still yet to come. Greta?
Zach Anderson, Tel Aviv, thank you. Because Iran's supreme leader has now been wiped off the globe, top Iranian leaders have issued a global fatwa. One of the Iranian leaders, who is known as Grand Ayatollah, writes, quote, avenging the blood of the martyred leader of the revolution is obligatory for all Muslims. He also writes, quote, without doubt, criminal America and the bloodthirsty Zionists have reached the end of their path, and this time the powerful armed forces will deliver a decisive and unforgettable response, end quote. Well, with that fatwa, which is global, are Americans in their American cities under attack? Early Sunday morning, as bars in Austin, Texas were preparing to close, a 53-year-old man opened fire on the patrons. The shooting that started outside the bar named Buford's Backyard Beer Garden left 3 people dead and 14 injured. According to law enforcement, and they have released this photo you see on your screen, the shooter was wearing a sweatshirt that read, quote, property of Allah. He was also wearing an undershirt featuring an Iranian flag. The man was a naturalized U.S. citizen, having been born in Senegal but living in Texas. Police shot and killed the man as he was carrying out the attack. And today, Austin Police Chief Lisa Davis gave this update.
Is there a direct connection to the war in Iran with this shooting here?
So I think for our purposes, as we're, looking at the totality of this, and certainly as a police chief, and we're coming in and we're getting this information, and we see those indicators. We see, the second shirt with the Iran and the picture of the Shah on that T-shirt as well. We're thinking about events and what's occurring in the country as well. And so, in addition to the fact that this was a huge, complex scene, we're calling in those federal partners to take a look at that as well. I believe one patient will be taken off life support sometime today, and then 2 other patients are still critical.
U.S. cities, major ones, had their eyes wide open. And earlier I spoke with NYPD's Deputy Commissioner for Intelligence and Counterterrorism, Rebecca Weiner. Deputy Police Commissioner, thank you very much for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
I know this certainly is not your first rodeo. I know that there have been probably 100 terror threats on New York City since 9/11. But are you doing anything extra to get ready in light of the war that's going on right now in the Middle East?
Absolutely. And we have an intelligence and counterterrorism apparatus that works quietly every day. When things like what's happening overseas occur, we ramp way up. And we do it for a number of reasons. One being to deter any would-be bad actor from being able to take action in our city, but also to reassure New Yorkers that we are there, that we are available, and that we are firing on all cylinders to keep our city safe.
Well, the other interesting thing that I've learned is that your apparatus to protect New York City isn't just in New York City. You have contact with people. Do you not have NYPD people in other places in the world where these hotspots are to help alert you of any threats?
We do. We've got officers around the world. We take a very large view of our own jurisdiction in keeping our city safe by really understanding threats where they emanate from. Over the last 72 hours, we've been getting real-time updates from officers in Jordan, in Abu Dhabi, in Doha, in Tel Aviv. And this is really important. It helps us understand what's happening as it's happening through vetted, solid information so we can better protect our own city. And anybody who's been around the streets over the weekend will notice an enhanced police presence. It's patrol resources, it's specialized counterterrorism resources. They're deployed around the city to diplomatic, cultural, religious infrastructure, to critical infrastructure, to transportation hubs. And we do this, like everything we do, in collaboration with our partners. It's high visibility patrols, deter would-be bad actors, but also to just remind New Yorkers, we are here. If you see something, say something, and we all do this work together, protecting New York.
Has there been an uptick in threats, or I assume you uptick your alert level since the war started, but has there been an uptick in what you're learning or hearing? And is the federal government staying in touch with you? Are you working with the federal government?
We work extensively with all of our federal counterparts every day, all day, but in times like these, even more. We've got officers assigned to the Joint Terrorism Task Force with whom we are working day to day. We have constant communication with local law enforcement partners across the country, making sure that what we're seeing in New York is shared with partners elsewhere, and what's happening elsewhere helps us protect our city. We have been telling people, if you see something, say something, with increased energy over the last few days. And as a result, we get more leads and we get more tips. In addition to the physical presence of officers around town, we also have intelligence resources, the parts of the program that the public doesn't see, operating behind the scenes, investigating tips and leads. And we always expect and frankly want to see this uptick in reporting to us that we will then investigate, because it shows that the public is listening, that people are engaged, that they are taking vigilance seriously. And then we run all of that to ground so New Yorkers don't have to worry.
I take it this is sort of around the clock, especially now. You don't get much sleep right now, do you?
Not too much sleep. It's around the clock. But this is 24/7 all the time. And then in times like this, a big plus factor. It's a big surge. But again, we do this collectively with all of our partners, also with the public.
Well, it's obviously you're doing pretty well, knock on wood, because, New York has been a pretty safe place. You're obviously doing your job well. Thank you very much for joining me, and continued good work and good luck. Thank you.
Thank you to you. Appreciate it.
Coming up, Democrats, most of them, except, of course, Pennsylvania Senator John Fetterman, say President Trump exceeded his authority in ordering the military strikes. Get ready for a war powers showdown in Congress. That when the record continues.
Information. Truth. Is power. Is freedom. Is money. Is health. Is Newsmax. Millions watch it. So can you. Newsmax is real news for real people.
I'm Amir Avivi. I'm in the nutritional business, primarily selling plant-derived minerals. Now, after being in this business for 43 years, owning a cancer hospital in Mexico, and associating with some of the most knowledgeable nutritional people in the world, I came to this conclusion. The world is sick due to a lack of minerals in our food, which is caused by a lack of minerals in topsoil. There is an incredible and proven nutritional product on the market that can overcome this problem. It's Immuno 150. This unusual food supplement contains 70 plant-derived minerals and 80 additional nutrients. There's nothing like it. Now watch the 3 videos on our website and place your order for what may be the best food supplement in the world. Now Immuno 150 is different, it's real, it's powerful, it's helped thousands, and we believe it enjoys the highest reorder rate in the industry. Thank you and God bless.
Hello, everyone. It's President Donald J. Trump, and it's Trump time. Check out this red beauty. It's one of my new watches. Wear it proudly on your wrist, and everyone will know exactly what it's for, who it represents. It's really going to be something special. It's for your favorite president. Get your watch today at gettrumpwatches.com. Please make a great gift. It's Trump time.
Even during a funeral, Israelis are forced to take cover. Today, during the funeral for those killed by an Iranian missile, Israelis had to hide behind a cemetery wall. The mourners were there to honor a mother and a daughter killed yesterday. The mother and daughter were among 9 killed, and it happened just outside Jerusalem. Israel says that the missile was armed with an 1,100-pound warhead. It destroyed a synagogue and penetrated a public bomb shelter beneath it. Some of the 9 killed were not inside the shelter. Most people in the bomb shelter survived. Earlier today, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu went to the site.
When I stand here in a place that was bombarded by the terrorists in Tehran against innocent civilians, you see the difference. The tyrants of Tehran target civilians. We target the tyrants of Tehran to protect civilians. And I want to say special thanks to our great friend and a great leader of the world, Donald Trump, for joining us in this crucial effort to save the world.
If taking on Iran was not challenging enough, Israel is now facing a threat to the north. Overnight, Hezbollah, which operates in Lebanon, began firing rockets at Israel. Hezbollah is a terror group backed by, funded by Iran. Israeli journalist Amit Segal says Hezbollah decides to join the conflict, also known as committing Israel-assisted suicide, end quote. Chief political analyst of N12 News in Israel, Amit Segal, joins me. Nice to talk to you, sir. And tell me, I was reading on your X account that Tel Aviv, and this struck me as unusual, the Tel Aviv exchange closed today, its strongest since COVID 6 years ago. How can that even be? I mean, I thought that was stunning.
It's amazing, and it's not the first time it happens. It happened in the Rising Lion operation in June 2025. Why is this? Because the main weight on the main burden on the shoulders of the Israeli economy has been for many, many years the Iranian threats, both the nuclear and the ballistic. So even though Tel Aviv is attacked almost as we speak, we see the light at the end of the tunnel. And the light is the collapse of the Iranian regime, from which each and every Israeli that had been killed suffered. They are responsible for 99% of the casualties in Israel. If they collapse, it's huge news both for Israel and its economy.
Well, Israel, you guys are tough. I mean, the fact that the market closed up so high, first time in 6 years, is amazing. All right, the U.S. military has now eliminated, I think, all the Iranian naval ships in the Gulf of Oman. That must be a significant event in moving this war forward towards its end.
Absolutely. President Trump said something very interesting today. He mentioned destroying the naval force of Iran as one of the 4 missions of this war, the 4 goals. And it's interesting, I think the explanation lies within the geostrategic map. As long as Iran is capable of blocking the Hormuz area, thus deepening the crisis in the world economy, it still has a way to blackmail the entire world. But if they don't have it, so they are doomed. And I think that's exactly what the U.S. Army is doing as we speak.
Yes, the U.S. Army, but now we're just getting word from CENTCOM, very distressing news for Israel and for the United States and families. CENTCOM has now confirmed 6 U.S. service members have been killed in Iran strike. That number is up from 3 or 4, and certainly, that's the ultimate sacrifice that our service members are giving. So it's very troubling. Okay, who's in charge in Iran right now? Do you have any idea now that Ayatollah Khamenei has been killed? Who's in charge?
Okay, so they have a triangle of leaders, or alleged leaders. It consists of a supreme sort of supreme judge, the president, and someone from the religious side. They are to decide on the apparent heir. I don't know who it is gonna be, but I do think that no matter what happens there, we see the cracks within the leadership of Iran, because no one will have the gravitas of Ayatollah Khamenei, and they are in the middle of the worst crisis since the establishment of the Islamic Republic of Iran. So President Trump hinted today that there are negotiations and that there are people who talk to the United States. I would even dare to say, Greta, that I suspect it's President Pashkazian. He's the only figure that survived from the Iranian leadership. And since Israel and the US do not suffer from lack of intelligence, I would suggest that someone in Washington sees President Pashkazian as someone to speak to in the day after Khamenei.
Amit Segal, thank you again.
Thank you so much.
And retired IDF Brigadier General and founder and chairman of Israel's Defense and Security Forum, Amir Avivi, joins me. Good afternoon, sir, or good evening to you. Obviously, we're just getting the sad news that we've had more loss of life with the U.S. military. Very tough. I mean, yeah, I know that Israel has, suffered so many years, but it's tough for us. Let me ask you a question about, you've got missiles coming into Iran from whether it's Lebanon with Hezbollah or Iran shooting them. In the past, you've had the Iron Dome that blocks them. But now you have something that seems the Iron Beam, and you're just sort of testing that. But can you tell us, because this does seem like a remarkable new weapon that may change a lot for Israel, unless, of course, Iran's gone and won't be sending any missiles anymore.
Yeah, so, Israel has several layers of air defense. We have Arrow, we have 3 and 4 now that is being developed, and we're using 2 and 3. We have David Sling, and we have Iron Dome, but now we also have the Iron Beam, which is, I think, the first ever laser that serves for air defense. It has been deployed now in the north of Israel and is dealing mostly with drones, and is doing it really effectively, managing to destroy every single drone that arrived to the north of Israel from Iran and also from Lebanon. The development of laser capabilities it's at the beginning. Now we're looking at drones, possibly mortars and simple rockets, but looking into the future, we're talking about laser capability to destroy ballistic missiles, and also to incorporate this capability on airplanes and use lasers. This is really, science fiction.
And the thing is that the Iron Dome shoots off missiles that cost $40,000 to $100,000 a piece, but the Iron Beam costs like $1.
Right. It's just about having energy. As long as you fuel it and you have energy being created, you can shoot an endless amount of rounds. It's at the end of the day, it's light, it's laser. So yes, it's very, very cheap and doesn't require stockpiles of munitions, as we know. And we know how challenging it is to produce munitions. In war, it's always a big issue. And laser is an amazing solution.
Well, maybe if Iran goes away and Hezbollah with it, you won't even need the Iron Beam either, because they won't be firing anything at you. Brigadier General Amir Avivi, thank you, sir.
My pleasure.
Coming up, remember retired FBI Special Agent Robert Levinson? He was kidnapped in Iran. He was never heard from again. His son, Dan Levinson, joins me when the record continues.
Information, truth is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.
Pump up the volume. Go ahead. Crank the volume. We got you. USPS has increased daily package processing capacity by 46% in the past 5 years. And with USPS Ground Advantage, your packages stay in our secure network, dock to door, nationwide. For full visibility, near real-time tracking, affordable pricing, for peace of mind. USPS Ground Advantage.
A better heart health supplement. That's what we all want. That's why for 8 years now, I've relied on this heart powder. It's Super Beats, and I swear by it.
Super Beats is the original #1 selling beet brand for healthy blood pressure support. The only cardiologist-recommended beet brand that's also trusted by over 40 national championship-winning pro and college sports teams for cardio-powered energy.
For cardio results you can feel, the only brand I trust is Super Beats.
Try Super Beats today at human.com.
Omaha Steaks semi-annual sale is back. Save 50% site-wide on America's best steaks, chicken, burgers, and more. All backed by our 100% guarantee. Right now, you'll get 12 Omaha Steaks burgers free with your order. Visit omahasteaks.com/TV today.
Don't kibble your dog.
Hey, Dr. Marty.
Hey, back.
What's wrong with this?
Let's check it out. It's still kibble, which means they're ultra-processed. At Dr. Marty, we freeze-dried premium meats, fruits, and vegetables, and they're gonna love it.
Messy happens. When it does, there's HomeAglow. For just $19, HomeAglow will clean your entire house. Everything from dishes to vacuuming, even laundry. Join thousands of Americans and book your first cleaning today for just $19.
Every day across the globe, big business agendas go unseen by investors. Things that go against your core values and beliefs. It's time to know your investments. Abortion, alternative lifestyles, gender and identity confusion. If you believe in protecting marriage and life, children, innocence, guarding masculinity, restoring families, defending religious liberty, invest with your values. Before investing, carefully consider the fund's investment objectives, risks, charges, and expenses of the investment company. This and other important information can be found in the fund's prospectus. To obtain a copy, visit timothyplan.com or call 800-846-7526. Read each prospectus carefully before investing. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal.
Today, most people don't know where their meat is sourced. For generations, people had access to quality local meats from American farms and ranches.
At Good Ranchers, we're reviving that tradition by partnering with ranchers and farmers.
No imports. Just 100% American born, raised, and harvested meat delivered directly to you.
We select only the finest cuts that we would feed our family.
Visit goodranchers.com and discover American meat delivered.
On March 9th, 2007, retired FBI Special Agent Robert Levinson was kidnapped from Iran's Kish Island. Levinson was in Iran on an unofficial CIA mission. For years, no one, not even his family, had any idea what happened to Levinson. His family had a feeling the Iranian regime was responsible, but had no confirmation until March of 2020. On March 25, 2020, the Levinson family released a statement that reads in part, quote, "We recently received information from U.S. officials that has led both them and us to conclude that our wonderful husband and father died while in Iranian custody. How those responsible in Iran could do this to a human being while repeatedly lying to the world all this time is incomprehensible to us. They kidnapped a foreign citizen and denied him any basic human rights, and his blood is on their hands," end quote. Son of Bob Levinson, Dan Levinson joins me. Nice to see you, Dan.
Nice to see you. Thank you.
We've known each other a long time, haven't we now?
Yes, we do.
I started working on this investigation, I don't know how long ago. I mean, it's almost from the beginning.
Yeah, you've been very great to our family and always covering the case for every second of the way.
You know, the reason I wanted to talk to you is because there has now been an elimination. Someone is killed who was probably instrumental in seizing your father. What do you know about him?
His name was Mohammed Basseri. He was a member of the Iranian intelligence services. The FBI had issued a wanted poster advertisement for him last year, claiming that he was part of my dad's abduction, detention, and ultimate death. So it appears that he was killed in those airstrikes over the weekend.
Well, there were several proof of lives early on. I saw a video. I saw another one with your father in an orange jumpsuit with a proof of light day. I mean, it was particularly cruel how this was. I mean, the whole thing was cruel what happened to your father, but just even how it unfolded for your poor mother and all the kids.
Yeah, it's always been terrible. At the time we received that video of my dad, it was encouraging to see that he was still alive. We received pictures about 6 months later, but at that point it was just to taunt us.
So tell me he was over there on some unofficial but official CIA mission. And, I mean, can you tell me what happened? I mean, because it's always been sort of murky.
Yeah, well, my dad was an investigator. He was doing something similar to what he had done in the FBI and as a private investigator, meeting with a man who had information on corruption and money laundering. He was meeting with him on Quiche Island, which is an island off the coast of Iran you don't need a visa for. That man claims that they were both brought in for questioning. He was released the next day and told my dad disappeared, but that was a lie. The Iranian government has been lying to us ever since about it.
Do you know where he was? Was he killed back then, or was he held? I guess he was held captive for some time based on the proof of life video, but not long.
We still don't know exactly when or how he died. It was many years ago, according to what we've learned. But there are people inside the Iranian government who do know exactly what happened to him and are responsible for this.
What's it like to wake up and find out that Mohammed Basseri has now been eliminated? Is it any sort of solace to your family?
It was definitely an emotional weekend for all of us watching this. And Ayatollah Khamenei, he was the lead person responsible for my dad's case. And at any time over the years, he could have snapped his fingers, waved his hand, and my dad would have been released. So watching both of them being killed in the airstrikes this weekend was an emotional experience for us.
Why do you think they did it? I mean, he wasn't that huge. I mean, it's one thing if they took him and then wanted ransom for the United States government or they want other prisoners or something. It was just plain cruel and evil. I mean, I never, maybe you know more information than I do, but I never understood, why they did that to him.
Still don't know. I think they saw him as a political pawn at the beginning, and then they panicked and didn't know what to do with him after that point.
But it's just, I mean, and I know you're probably not going to say it, but I will. I was also very disappointed in our government. I think our government over the years, whether it was the CIA, I think they knew a lot more than they were telling your family. I watched your mother suffer. I watched the other kids. I got to know the other kids in your family. It's been that long. And I was really disappointed on how our government handled your family.
It's been a long journey. We think people who are in power right now are trying to take care of our family, and we're encouraged by that.
But your family, I mean, you've got the Robert Levinson Act passed in Congress. So, I mean, it's like, some families, when there's just a terrible thing happened to them, somehow manage to find within them to get something passed for the good. And that act now helps others, for other Americans held in custody.
It does. It was something that my family decided that no family should ever have to go through what we went through ever again. My sister and brothers worked really hard to make sure this got passed, and it's been very helpful, helped streamline the process so families aren't abandoned when someone they love is missing overseas.
Well, Dan, it's nice to see you. Tell your mother I said hello, and to the extent that this somehow brings some closure, I hope it does. But boy, what an ugly, long journey, and it's been terrible for your family, so I'm sorry.
Will do. Thank you so much.
Coming up, Democrats want to rein in President Trump's use of military force. That when the record continues.
I switched.
I switched.
I switched. I switched to Newsmax.
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 Have you made the switch?
You bet I did. My whole family switched.
Millions are switching to Newsmax. You should too.
We're here with Chris Cunahan to talk about why Leaf Filter is the best choice for homeowners this season. Chris, why now?
If I'm investing in one thing this year, it's protecting my home. Clogged gutters cause big problems. Leaf Filter keeps your gutters clog-free year-round.
In any climate?
Absolutely. In blizzard condition, windstorms, downpours, Leaf Filter has you covered.
That's reassuring.
And it's backed by a lifetime transferable warranty. Schedule your free inspection today. Call 833-LEAF-FILTER or visit leaffilter.com.
Kibble.
It's been the standard for decades, and it's failing our dogs. That's why we created Badlands Ranch Superfood Complete. It's gently air-dried, locking in the nutrients and the flavor dogs go wild for. Visit your local pet food retailer today.
Forget the warm-up. DirecTV got hot. They're on fire with more MLB games than anyone. Welcome to the big leagues, kid.
How old are you?
11.
Total Beats, America's best-selling Beats brand, is available at Walmart. Total Beats blood pressure support soft chews contain a key ingredient clinically shown to deliver 2 times better blood pressure support. Take control of your health. Head to Walmart and get Total Beats blood pressure support soft chews today.
Dog grooming genius here. No, over here. And I live for operational excellence. Cute makeovers? I see a shop in sync. Thanks to Genius. Scheduling personalized. Checkouts flawless. Real-time reviews for the win. From game day crowds worldwide to running this shop. Perfectly executed. Big league reliability for any business. That's Genius.
Are you or a loved one a military veteran that has been diagnosed with mesothelioma? Do you have questions about getting the best treatment or paying medical bills? Have you received the proper care and compensation you deserve? Let our firm serve you with the same dedication you served your country. We are exclusively devoted to helping those with mesothelioma. Call now to get this free book, and we'll answer any question you have. We'll even visit you.
Call 800-555-8958 or go to mesobook.com.
You woke up with a sore throat and a low-grade fever. You know you are getting sick, so here's your choices. You can get sicker and miss work. Try to see a doctor this week or sit hours in a crowded waiting room at urgent care.
I have a smarter option for you. Open your medical emergency kit. Match your symptoms to doctor-recommended prescription in your booklet and take the right meds now and get well faster.
This is not a first aid kit. It's like having an urgent care in your home. It includes doctor-prescribed medications to treat over 39 medical issues like respiratory infections, strep throat, pneumonia, UTIs, and more.
No waiting to see the doctor and no standing in line at the pharmacy. It's right here.
Every home should have at least one medical emergency kit, and here's how to order.
Order online and save $45. Your kit to treat dozens of common and serious illnesses is rushed to your door. Visit urgentcarekit.com/news, promo code NEWS. That's urgentcarekit.com/news, promo code NEWS.
How much power does a president have? Over the weekend, President Trump, as you know, authorized strikes against Iran. Most Democrats and even some Republicans believe the president has exceeded his war powers authority. Yesterday, Arizona Senator Mark Kelly said, quote, "The Senate needs to vote immediately on Senator Tim Kaine's war powers resolution. I'm voting yes on the resolution because it is clear that Trump has no plan to avoid escalation into a wider conflict. That puts more service members in harm's way," end quote. Speaker of the House Mike Johnson says a war powers vote will likely be held on Thursday. Now, the Constitution says only Congress has the power to declare war, and the last time that happened was in 1942. And, of course, we've had many military actions since 1942 without a congressional declaration of war. They include, for instance, Vietnam, Korea, Gulf Wars, and so much more. There is an exception allowing for a president to commit forces without prior approval from Congress, a declaration of war, but then the president must notify Congress within 48 hours. 2 months ago, the United States went into Venezuela to capture its leader, Nicolas Maduro. Democrats claimed they were not notified in writing of Maduro's seizure, citing the 1973 War Powers Act. Although with cable news and social media, news about the arrest instantaneously ricocheted around the globe. Meanwhile, the Trump administration said it was a law enforcement operation, not a military one, even though the military was used for the seizure. Maduro was arrested on a 2020 federal U.S. indictment. Regardless, Democrats argued they need to be notified and in writing after 48 hours. And after that operation, Congress tried to pass a new revised war powers resolution to prevent further military action by the president without notification. That failed. Now, in this early Saturday morning attack on Iran, Secretary of State Marco Rubio just said congressional leaders were notified before the strikes. And on Saturday morning, President Trump posted a video address on Truth Social, obviously after the military action began. Republican Senator from Wyoming and member of the Foreign Relations Committee, John Barrasso, joins me. Nice to see you, sir. And tell me what's going to happen with this war powers resolution. Is it going to go straight down party lines with maybe picking off a few Republicans?
Well, what we see, Greta, are Democrats are trying to undermine American peace through strength. Democrats seem to be lining up to tie the president's hands so he can't keep us safe. The president had full authority to do what he has done, and he put a red line out there. He's enforcing this. This is the exact opposite the Democrats had done under Barack Obama when they sent pallets of money trying to buy the Ayatollah's friendship. The president has given the Iranian people, the leadership there, an opportunity for an off-ramp. I was with the president Thursday afternoon, along with the Secretary of State and a small group of senators in the Oval Office discussing how the talks were going. It doesn't seem in any way that Iran was really willing to come to the table and negotiate. There was a real threat there. The president took decisive action. The world is safer. America is safer as a result of that, and I'm going to do everything I can as the majority whip in the United States Senate to make sure we defeat this effort by the Democrats to limit the president from doing what he has every constitutional right to do.
Well, see, this is what I don't understand, is the notification is for within 48 hours after the fact. It's after, it's not before. And apparently Secretary of State Rubio notified, I guess, the leadership of the Senate, that's not the entire Congress, but the leadership of the House, that it was going to happen. But what the Democrats are mad about is a failure to notify him after 48 hours. I don't even know if we've gotten to that 48-hour point yet. I guess we have. But everybody in the world knows.
Well, the president has completely complied with what needed to be done. We're going to have a briefing tomorrow in the Senate for all senators. I think the Secretary of State and Secretary of War are both going to be there, along with the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. The world is safer. The Ayatollah is dead. His leadership team is dead. The weaponry, the missiles, they're being destroyed systematically. For 47 years, Greta, Iran has been at war with the United States. And they don't just chant death to America. They continue to go after us, to kill, and they have hundreds of Marines in Lebanon, thousands of American soldiers in Iraq, in Afghanistan. And then they fund terrorism around the world. And when they were finally attacked on Saturday, what did they do? They attacked 11 of their neighboring countries right in that vicinity. These have been bad actors from the beginning, and now the Iranian people are going to see freedom after we destroy the Navy, destroy the missiles, the nuclear capacity they have, their ability to make more missiles, and hopefully this will be a decision for freedom for the people so they can choose that life for the future.
Well, as Prime Minister Netanyahu has told me many times I've interviewed him, this is not a beef with the Iranian people. It's with the regime, the people that do this. But the world couldn't let them get a nuclear weapon. And I mean, it's like, and they've been funding terrorism. That's hundreds have been killed, thousands have been killed because they're funding terrorism. And then the human rights violations, they push gays off roofs, and the terrible things they do to women. It's just shocking. It's like, it's just shocking that, basically what took so long.
Yeah, and as you know, anytime you sit down with Bibi, he would always, you talk about a couple of things, he said, but about Iran. And that's exactly what he wanted to talk about, because in Iran, they would refer to Israel as the little Satan and the United States as the big Satan. And you mentioned the word terrorism. I just want to point out that a threat to the United States today is of terrorism, and the Democrats in Congress have shut down the Department of Homeland Security. And that is wrong. We should open up the Department of Homeland Security today. The Department of Homeland Security is in charge of a lot of things, and counterterrorism is part of it. They need to be fully funded. The people who work for them need to be staffed and actually fully paid. So what do we know has happened? You've seen it, and I think you've reported on it, Greta, the murders that occurred in Texas. The investigation is still going on, but what we do know is that killer was wearing a T-shirt which was the flag of Iran. And what did his sweatshirt say? Allah, property of Allah. All of these things make me wonder if people realize the threat that we have here in the homeland, and yet the Democrats have shut down the Department of Homeland Security, refused to pay it, to pay for the salaries of those individuals. This is wrong. This is a dangerous behavior by the Democrats. We need to get that funded. They need to vote to fund it today.
Senator John Barrasso, great state of Wyoming. Thank you, sir. And
Thanks,
coming
Greta.
up, Coming up, women celebrating in the streets of Iran after the elimination of Iran's vicious leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. That video when the record continues.
To a hacker, your tax return isn't just paperwork, it's a gold mine. Your social security number and bank data are their biggest payday of the year. Old antivirus software can't keep up. You need PCmatic. Our default deny technology blocks every single threat that hasn't been pre-approved. If we don't know it, we block it. Secure your return right now. Buy PCmatic antivirus and we will give you PCmatic VPN for free. American-made security for homes, businesses, and government agencies. Visit PCmatic.com.
You moved in. You nested.
Hey, what are you doing?
You partied. You cuddled. You made egg rolls. You slept in. Or tried to. And you kept growing. Now it's time for the next chapter. With Open Door, get an all-cash offer for your home in 24 hours. Because saying goodbye should be the hardest part. Move into your future with Open Door.
I lost 110 pounds. You couldn't tell at all because of my excess skin. So Nobella changed that.
Introducing the new Lift EX, the just one visit, total body transformation.
I decided to give Sonobello a try. You can see my waist.
Lift EX is our breakthrough 360-degree body lift alternative that sculpts, tightens, and lifts your stomach, waist, thighs, and backside. And Lift EX is exclusively available at Sonobello. Easy monthly plans make your best body more affordable than ever. Call to book your free consultation today.
If you still have bad breath by lunchtime, your mouthwash isn't working. Smart Mouth is the only mouthwash that prevents bad breath for 24 hours. This is the only mouthwash I recommend. Upgrade your mouthwash to Smart Mouth today and never have bad breath again.
Muscle cramps were keeping me up at night, so then I tried Slomag, the magnesium plus calcium supplement that helps relax tense muscles so I can rest comfortably. And Slomag tablets have a slow-release formula that's gentle on my stomach. That's why I use Slomag.
Hello, everyone. It's President Donald J. Trump, and it's Trump time. Check out this red beauty. It's one of my new watches. Wear it proudly on your wrist, and everyone will know exactly what it's for, who it represents. It's really going to be something special. It's for your favorite president. Get your watch today at gettrumpwatches.com. These make a great gift. It's Trump time.
%48% of Americans don't get enough magnesium, which is vital for bone, nerve, and muscle health. I recommend Cunol's Magnesium Glycinate. It's formulated for high absorption and is gentle on the stomach. Cunol, the brand I trust.
Champions trust Cosequin, the #1 vet-recommended retail joint health supplement brand.
Before the Iranian Revolution in 1979, Iran was a very different country. Women did not wear the hijabs. They dressed much like American women. And the women of pre-1979 Iran were encouraged to get an education. In the mid-1960s, women of Iran gained the right to vote and were elected to the Iranian parliament. But that all changed in 1979 after the Islamic Revolution. On February 1, 1979, Ayatollah Ruhollah Khamenei returned to Tehran from living in Paris. 10 days later, on February 11, 1979, revolutionary forces seized control of Iran. This meant women became instantly second-class citizens. Women were forced to wear hijabs. Women lost rights to divorce and custody. The minimum marriage age for females was lowered to 13 years old, but with the permission of the father, a girl could marry even younger. And women were restricted when it came to their education and employment. But fast forward to Saturday, February 28, 2026, a little over 2 days ago. The United States and Israel launched multiple strikes in Iran. One of the strikes, as you know, killed Iran's repressive leader, the Ayatollah. Following the strike and the Ayatollah's elimination, women in Iran took to the streets to celebrate. As you can see, there is not a hijab in sight. These women began celebrating their freedom 47 years after it was robbed from them. Former director of Voice of America Persian Setareh Derakhshesh joins me. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you, too. Thanks for having me.
Most people, since it's been so long, 47 years, don't realize what Iran was before. It has a rich culture. It was just one of the most extraordinary places on earth.
And it had a good reputation, too, on the global community. And this is what is missing right now. I think some Iranians, of course, we are very, very proud of our heritage, but we don't want to say that we are tied to this particular regime. Women had rights. Children had rights. They didn't have to marry, as you had in your opening. It was a country that was stable. It was a country that was respected, and a country that had good relations with its neighbors as well. Everything has changed. And since then, since the beginning of the revolution, since the inception of this particular regime, at the very beginning, it is every segment of the population has tasted the venom of this regime. You are talking about women, that's true. Women, minorities, lawyers, students, everyone has tasted that, and everyone is disillusioned, and they want this regime to go. It was a different world, and it's a different time right now.
Well, the Shah of Iran wasn't that particularly popular before he left. Jimmy Carter let him come into the United States to get cancer treatment, which is about when this whole revolution. He was not particularly popular either. He was trying to modernize Iran, but he wasn't. You know, he had the secret police, which the people didn't like. But it didn't have to go to what it happened to go to.
It had the Savak, that's true. That's the secret police. And the voices of dissent were also not very free. We didn't have that much freedom, but there is no comparison at all. And some people say that the Shah maybe wanted to modernize too quickly. And the mentality of people, it is a Muslim country, it was not ready for that, even though there was a lot of progress made. Unfortunately, the population did not follow that.
Well, it looks like things are this obviously is undergoing a lot of change. I don't know what's going to emerge, but is there an opposition group within? Is there someone who's likely to take over?
Well, the way the regime has worked is that they did not let any opposition be organized. There are people inside Iran. There are the attorneys' guilds, lawyers' guilds. There are students. There are journalists. There are writers, authors. And they were part of somewhat a civil society that was forming. But the way the regime dealt with it, they're not organized, and they don't have a common goal. It was the same thing when protesters started coming out. The goal was they were just chanting death to the dictator, but what is the common goal? What is it? And there is no organization either. So it's the same thing happened with the opposition or the people who are opposed to this regime inside Iran. They are not organized, and they needed the support of people outside. They needed the support of the diaspora. But as President Trump had said in his video at the very beginning when the bombardment started, when this attack started, he had said that it is up to the Iranian people to decide for their own, I'm just paraphrasing, to decide for their own future and to take their destiny in their own hands. And I think this is the right and the responsibility of the Iranian people to fight for what they think is right for their nation.
Well, it's the torture that I've read about all these years, public hangings and stuff, has just been too much for me. I mean, it's just even the atrocities going on there, so that I don't know what's to come. But, it seems to me it can only be a step up, so we'll see what happens. Anyway, Setareh, nice to see you.
Thank you.
I hope you come back.
Thank you.
Coming up, people in Iran and America are celebrating that when the record continues.
War in America?
The president and the leadership at DHS, the leadership of the White House, Tom Homan, Stephen Miller, they know how critical it is right now. To save America, we have got to remove these dangerous individuals. This is all related. The radical Marxists, the radical Islamists, they want to remake America, and they want to allow other people to vote who are non-citizens. I'm the lead author of the SAVE Act to ensure that only citizens, American citizens, vote in American elections.
The House Freedom Caucus led the fight to pass the Save America Act, and President Trump is totally on board.
I'm asking you to approve the Save America Act to stop illegal aliens and others who are unpermitted persons from voting in our sacred American elections.
The House Freedom Caucus supports Chip Roy's bill. Call your senator and tell them to pass the Save America Act. Freedom Caucus Fund is responsible for the contents of this ad.
I'm Elmer Heinrich. I'm in the nutritional business, primarily selling plant-derived minerals. Now, after being in this business for 43 years, owning a cancer hospital in Mexico, and associating with some of the most knowledgeable nutritional people in the world, I came to this conclusion. The world is sick due to a lack of minerals in our food, which is caused by a lack of minerals in topsoil. There is an incredible and proven nutritional product on the market that can overcome this problem. It's Immuno 150. This unusual food supplement contains 70 plant-derived minerals and 80 additional nutrients. There's nothing like it. Now watch the 3 videos on our website and place your order for what may be the best food supplement in the world. Now Immuno 150 is different, it's real, it's powerful, it's helped thousands, and we believe it enjoys the highest pre-order rate in the industry. Thank you and God bless.
Buying a new car? You need WeatherTech. Perhaps a nice used car. You need WeatherTech. Or maybe you're still driving Old Faithful. You need WeatherTech. No matter the age of your vehicle, American-made WeatherTech products are the solution. Because Nexus don't care what year your vehicle is.
See? You do need WeatherTech.
Order your American-made protection at WT.com.
Don't kibble your dog.
Hey, Dr. Marty.
Hey, back.
What's wrong with this?
Let's check it out. It's still kibble, which means they're ultra-processed. At Dr. Marty, we freeze-dried premium meats, fruits, and vegetables, and they're gonna love it.
What if you're sick at home or traveling and can't get medical help or prescriptions? Doctors say a medical emergency kit is the answer. Joining me is Dr. Drew.
Thank you. And yes, these kits put you in charge of your health. They come with physician-prescribed medication to treat multiple common and some serious issues as well.
What are some examples?
Sure. Generic Z-Pak, amoxicillin, other essential antibiotics and antivirals that treat flu, pneumonia, strep, ear infections, sinus infections, urinary tract infections, and more.
So it is like urgent care and a pharmacy at home?
Exactly. No waiting, no pharmacy, no copays. You feel better faster and avoid serious complications.
How do you know what medicines to take?
You just match your symptoms to the doctor-written guide or schedule a quick telehealth call.
Sound advice. Order online in minutes at the website below and save $45. Thank you, doctor.
Visit urgentcarekit.com/news, promo code news.
Well, you know that song. That's President Trump's song, YMCA. And across the United States, Iranian Americans took to the streets to celebrate the strikes that killed Ayatollah Khamenei. People were cheering, dancing, and holding signs. The signs thanked President Trump and Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. People were also waving the American flag and Iran's Lion and Sun flag. Now, the Lion and Sun flag was Iran's official state flag until the 1979 Islamic Revolution. And boy, you don't see dancing like that in Iran. At least you didn't up until Friday when the bombing started. Anyway, thank you for watching. As a special note, tomorrow I will speak with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. What does Netanyahu have to say about the war against Iran? You bet he's got a lot to say. He also told me many times in interviews that his beef was not with the Iranian people, but the Iranian regime, which has now been eliminated. Tomorrow, 4 p.m. Eastern. Meanwhile, Ed Henry, The Big Take, is up next. David Newsmax.